Thank you. Mark, welcome back. I cannot believe it's been a year since you were jumping up to the stage to some of the best walk-up music I think I've ever heard. And I've definitely replicated that since we did the conference last year. You made a big impression, as Lucy said, on the audience. You inspired lots of us to get out there and really solve some problems. I remember you really honing in on some quite juicy problems. But we've had an incredible year, really quite exceptional year, I think. And I think we're trying to look at the things that we discussed last year and the purpose that you have as a business. I mean, how are you feeling about the future after a year? Because, I mean, how's Climb Online doing? We'd love to know. And I think also today, just remind everyone who's listening in, Mark is here to take your questions as well. So as much as I'm going to be talking to Mark, we'd like to take your questions because he'd love to answer them. So Mark, tell us a little bit about what's been happening with Climb Online this year and how's that purpose changed for you over this very rocky times?
Well, Carey, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for having me back. Very rarely is it I'm invited back a second time to scorch the earth. My policy is I tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And the Epic community seemed to embrace that last year. And I must say, out of all of I think I did 88 conferences last year in total, and Epic would be my favorite or a close number 2 to my own ClimbCon. And I really enjoyed being here, and thank you for having me back. I think what you guys are doing, particularly for the print and traditional media, is really important and a message we must keep driving. But when I spoke last year, boy, we didn't realize what was about to happen, did we? And I think the advice I gave and why I've decided to come back today is because right now it is a land of opportunity out there. In February, when this pandemic hit my business, in the first 2 days of lockdown, we lost 42% of our turnover and revenues. So I lost half my business in 2 days. And I'm sure I'm not the only person out there that lost a large portion of business and was really scared for the future of their company, their employees, what their future was, what the rest of their career was going to look like. I know all of those thoughts went through my head. And today, I met with my accountant yesterday lunchtime, and we've just had a record November sales. We've had a record profits. We now employ more people than we've ever had. And I've invested in more businesses and bought more properties in the last 3 months than I have in my 31-year life. So fortunes and history is made in these times. And there's 2 camps of people that we've seen happen quite quickly. People who have sat back and waited for this pandemic to be over, and people who have got on the front foot and innovated, found new ways to sell their products, found new ways to serve their customers. And it is that camp that have really been successful. And I've got a few strategies I'd like to talk you through. But as you said in your introduction, I think today is really for me to answer your questions. And I'd love as many questions as possible. There's nothing I won't answer today. And I'm here to help everyone directly.
Absolutely. So we'd had a couple of questions that came through in advance. And I think one of the key things, I mean, listening to that is not the year that other people have had. And I know that those people maybe stuck their head under the duvet and said, help, it's pandemic, and what movie script page are we on today? Maybe haven't had such a good end of the year, possibly. But we've had lots of questions that came through here about hard to reach decision makers. Everyone's working remotely. How have you guys overcome that? Because I think that seems to be the biggest barrier that most people have found, is how do you get to those people? How have your team, if you've had a record month, we'd love to know, I think, how you've managed to chip away at those people.
Well, we've had more success in reaching decision makers now more than ever. And I think that's what's led to our great sales sort of flurry in the last 12 months. The first thing I did with my business is I did not furlough or fire any of my sales team or any of my marketing team. And that is the fundamental mistake that business owners, entrepreneurs make when things get tough, either in a recession, a pandemic, bad times, tough times. The first people, they look at administration staff like sales and marketing as an overhead, not as an opportunity. And the first thing I did is, okay, I furloughed people. Of course I did. It was a terrible time. We lost 42% of our business, but I kept the people who generate revenue and interest in our company, which is sales and marketing. That was the first good thing I did. Now, decision makers were all working at home like the rest of us, and they had more. I've sat more Zoom meetings. I've sat more meetings in general this year more than ever. I'm more available now more than ever, because if you look at my diary last year, I was traveling on planes all the time, trains, driving to conferences, to meetings, to events. I was really busy and really hard to get hold of. This year, I've been unfortunately kept captive in my office here in London or in my home office out in East London. And I've had more times to sit meetings, and I've sat in meetings. And to be honest, sometimes I'm thinking, why the bloody hell am I sat in this meeting? I shouldn't be here. But it's because I've got time. I have spare time. And I don't know if you can tell how handsome I am or how much weight I've lost, but I've had a lot more time to exercise and live a different life. And that's like every decision maker. And we have a LinkedIn outreach bot that's contacting 500 decision makers a day and feeding back in leads to our system. But the first thing we did is we didn't drop our marketing budget. Key thing, we didn't stop our marketing budget. We kept our sales team and we kept reaching out via LinkedIn to decision makers. We have signed up some of the best companies. We signed up Buildbase yesterday. I don't know if you've heard of Buildbase. Obviously, we have TikTok, which everybody has heard of or definitely heard of through this lockdown now. And types of companies have changed. Big customers lead to bringing in more big customers. And comes back to it just has come back to the basics of business and doing things right. Do you know I've won 4 deals in this lockdown? I'm not kidding. 4 deals from customers who have said the reason they signed, we ask everyone, why did you sign up with us? And they said the reason they signed up with Climb Online is we're the only agency who answered their phone when the customer rang. They tried 3 or 4 other agencies before us and no one answered the phone. It's like business owners or business people got scared by this, decided to sit back and forgot the fundamentals of business. Answer your phone, respond to your customers quickly, keep going with your marketing and sales strategies. And it's the basics which take people through the tough times. And I said at the outset of this, the sea is about to get really rough and we're going to see who the skilled sailors are. And boy, has that happened.
Absolutely. So we're starting to get some quite interesting questions coming through. And I think that, again, these reflect some of the ones we'd had in advance as well. Obviously, we know that you're a big fan from last year of integration and bringing all those channels together. So one of the questions we've been asked is about, are people investing in marketing? Are they doing the same? Are they being innovative? Are they going back to comfort? I'm talking a little bit later on today about some of the measures that we're seeing about right and left brain thinking. What sort of things are you seeing clients looking for? How are they investing at the moment? So what are they doing to connect with their customers?
Well, everything right now is fallen back on a lot of ROI focus. And what do I mean by that? People need to justify things to their board members, to their investors on spending money right now. If you're going to hire someone, if you're going to spend money, you need to show proof of concept. You need to show ROI. I'm a huge advocate for just brand awareness. I believe that any brand awareness campaign, I can show ROI through P&L uplift. We call it a halo benefit. I love spending money on tubes, on radios, on pamphlets. I'm an online advertising agency and I probably spend just as much, if not more money on offline advertising just because I want to be different. And we do. I have a model where I do the advertising for Clear Channel, the billboard company. They do some stuff for me, so we leverage off one another. Right now, it's going back to what works. You need to have your marketing budget and look what your marketing budget was in 2019. And your question is not how do we cut or reduce that budget. It is how do we take that budget and maximize it on the channels that were most efficient for us. That's the mistake most people made at the start of this. They tried to cut budget, not allocate it to the channel or the channels that were most profitable for their company. So it's just thinking a little bit different and challenging yourself to get on the front foot instead of the back foot. Never cut budget, reallocate budget. If you try pamphlets and they don't work, try the tube. If you try the tube, it doesn't work, try AdWords. If AdWords doesn't work, you try Facebook. Constantly move. Omni-channel marketing is the only way to be successful in 2020. If you look at the great companies that are setting records right now, they're companies that have understood the power of print, they've understood the power of online, and they've understood the power of influencers. If you can combine those 3, you will make money like never before. If you don't understand that, you will be Debnams. They're in the administration court this morning. You've got Debnams, you've got your friend Philip Green down there as well, Topshop and Arcadia and all of these people who missed the boat of understanding the importance of omni-channel or multi-channel marketing, and they just didn't get it. And I called this for years. I said, if you look at what someone like Pretty Little Thing are doing versus what Debenhams are doing, it's going to be a year, 12, 18 months before they're in the bankruptcy court, and they're there today. And then you look at someone like Pretty Little Thing, who is making literally hundreds of millions of pounds a quarter by how they've understood the marketplace. And success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. The reason I've been successful is I find other successful business people and other successful businesses, and I study it. I study it and I figure out what are they doing in their marketing and sales strategy that is working, and I just replicate it in my own business, and boy, does it work.
So that learning is, you're always learning. So I think, when we look at the situation with Debenhams and obviously all of those job losses, which, heart goes out to everybody who's in that situation, but that's been a long time coming, that situation. As you say, they haven't necessarily embraced that. And I think where you've got, some other questions that are coming in about, do we think that print helps drive better brand awareness? And I think really what you're saying here is this is a combination of these different things to help expand those channels and those different messages. Have your clients, for example, have they gone back into maybe a medium they haven't used before, like a direct mail or a door drop or something? We've seen a lot of the digital brands talking to people directly at home through print recently. Is that something that you've seen clients going back to maybe some of the methods they haven't used for a while to communicate with people better during this period of time?
100%. And as I just said, success leaves clues. And some of the most successful companies on my books, when I sit with the directors, I'm obsessed with learning what they're doing, because some of these companies are making, in the hundreds of millions, 150, 200 million pounds net profit. And I want to study what the hell are you doing when times are so tough? And our most successful, or certainly one of the most successful, has gone back to print. And the reason he's gone back to print is he's getting better prices. He's getting profit share models from the outlets. So, for example, he's one of the biggest newspaper advertisers in the country. He goes out to the print, and instead of paying for the ad in the Evening Standard or the Sunday Times, he goes on a profit share model with, for example, News Corp, and says to them, for every pound we get from a booking, we'll give you 50p. They love it because they're making 1, 2, 3 million pounds per quarter. They wouldn't have got that on advertising. And they've got a customer for life out of him, and he's making a bloody fortune through going back to print and combining the strategy with his online, and it's working hand in hand. Just consequently, I get more emails than I could high jump over in a lifetime every single day. They blend together. I don't know, we've just been through Black Friday and Cyber Monday. My emails is full of junk. The other day, I got a beautiful package here in the post with a gold lanyard and a ticket on it for a IT company, a cyber company that wants a meeting with me. And it was a beautiful, I'm a big F1 fan. I love F1s. So they've sent me an F1 ticket. Someone's figured out that I like F1s, in a beautiful box, and given me a day at like a fast car circuit, the ticket in the box, as long as I meet with them. Let me tell you, I want to meet with them. And it's just that being different, what is that little thing? Even if your service is the same, or you're struggling to communicate your your USP, getting meetings is easy if you're different. In Halloween, any company that I was looking to sign up, we sent Scary Monster donuts to with a letter about, can we have a meeting? These things are so simple. But no, it's easy for me to sit here and tell you that, and people think that's so simple, sending Scary Monster donuts to that company you want to sign up. But it works. Being different works. Sending a letter.
Sensory. It's a sensory thing, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. A little effort goes a long way in the sales game. And this brilliant device, it really still works, that no one uses anymore. We've got Zoom and Teams up to the eyeball, and my phone doesn't ring anymore. And when it does, it's interesting to take the call. And I think sending mail, sending gifts, making phone calls, if you're not meeting decision makers, you're doing something wrong. You've got the wrong number. You're not trying, because it is easy.
Much easier. So I think it's what we're talking about here is lots of turning on the senses, flipping all those synapses on and making sure that people, you're doing something very memorable. So the company that sent you your amazing ticket, that that is something that you're going to remember and you're going to talk about. And I know that we talked about that very briefly when we were met up. We were discussing what we're going to say today. I think when we're looking at the, some of the changes, again, some of the questions we've got coming in about some of the inevitable change happening. And I know I'm now looking after about 500 different companies, all in the promotional merchandise space. Those guys had a really tough time. A lot of their channels have been things, so they've had to adapt. What they've also done, they've accelerated a lot of the ways that they're now working. So I think one of the questions we've had in is about, is there an inevitable change anyway into some of the behaviours we've seen, like the massive online behaviours? Do we think that actually the pandemic has proved an acceleration and a shift in behaviour much faster? Do you think it's accelerated certain behaviours?
By about 10 years. The online meeting, I'm a bit old-fashioned. And I'm a proponent of the old school. I like working in the office. I like going and having a meeting with a real person and looking in their eyes and shaking their hand, because that's how I've always done business. Not to say I'm against Zoom, but it's sped up all of these online meetings and doing things digitized by about 10 years. But that doesn't mean, I believe truly that means there's more opportunity in traditional mediums, because I'm getting less mail than ever. I'm reading less things physically than ever. So that means that the 1 or 2 things per day that you are going to physically pick up and read through the post, you're going to pay much more attention to. I'm paying less attention in my Zoom meetings, less attention to my email inbox, and more attention to the things that are different. So it comes back to that. And there is this, I don't want to bore you to death, because I'd love to answer some of the stories, the questions that are coming in. But right down the road next to me here, there is empty shop after empty shop after empty shop. There was an Eat in one, a Pret-a-Manger in one, there's a Starbucks in one, and there's a butcher shop. And if you walk out here at lunchtime to get a sandwich, before the pandemic, every shop was heaving. You'd go to Pret-a-Manger at lunch and it was a line. Then Starbucks was a line, and Eat was a line. And the butcher shop, or butcher shops and bakers, have been dying for a long time. If you go out to here at lunchtime today, they're all empty, absolutely empty. And there's a line around the block of the butcher shop. There is a line as far as you can see, 150 people for this butcher shop. And I thought, oh my God, why would 100 people line up to go to a butcher shop for lunch? What this butcher has done is unbelievable. It sums up being an entrepreneur and being a successful business person. It's nothing to do with the industry you're in. It's nothing to do with coronavirus. It's all to do with your mindset. This guy has realized that a health pandemic has started, and he's got all this beautiful meat that's better than Sainsbury's, better than Tesco's. And what he's done is he's got a barbecue, and he's barbecued and made the meat into like steak sandwiches, sausage sandwiches, steak chips for lunch, and bundled it up into quick takeaways that you can sample his meat. It's a $5, you get a drink and some chips and a barbecue sandwich, and you're out the door. He has a line in the middle of a health pandemic that you've never seen anything like it. And if you go into any other butcher shop, they're dead. No one goes to a butcher's or a baker's anymore, but you can't get into this guy for an hour and a half. I've got my PA in the line from 11:30 in the morning to get bless her, to get the lunch, because it's worth it. It's so good. And it makes you want to buy his meat and use his business. And he's just figured out a way to do it. He sent these I've got one here, one of his cards he sent round to, there it is, my butcher's card. With
fantastic loyalty scheme. Loyalty scheme, yeah.
To all of the office buildings in the area. Where there is a will, there is a way. And it's so easy in business to sit back and say, coronavirus, it killed my business. Well, there's some businesses out here thriving. And what's your excuse?
Well, I love the fact that he's got off his own, and it sounds like it's delicious. You have to tell us where it is, but also the fact he's using loyalty as well. He's rewarding behavior, repetitive behavior. And I think we know that during this pandemic, brands that have behaved that way absolutely have won hearts and minds, and they've absolutely definitely won your stomach by the sound of it as well.
Unbelievable.
So we've got some really good questions coming in. This is a really interesting one. So how do you weigh the balance of print channels and digital channels in regard to budget allocation? How do you tell your clients where they should spend their money? As you mentioned briefly about ROI earlier. So is there a way that you might be guiding? I'm guessing it depends on what your clients' objectives are overall, but is there a way that you balance where that money is spent? Do you get more bang for your buck with print for example? Is there any way that you might recommend about weighing the balance of print channels versus digital? A $1 million question, isn't it?
What I have learned over the years, it's as I'm getting older and I'm getting, thank God, more successful, I'm getting more cranky and short with people who just don't get it. If I sit with a business owner now and they do not believe in spending money on advertising, or they do not believe in print, I used to sit there and argue with them until I was blue in the face to get them to see my point of view. But the reason their business is small and the reason they don't believe in it is there's a mindset problem in that business owner. And what I've learned quite quickly is you must start working with people who believe in this stuff, because the conversation is much, much easier. And the way to talk to those people is easier. The first thing you must do with any advertising channel, print or online, is spend the right amount of money as a test. 9 out of 10 times the reason a print marketing campaign fails or a digital marketing campaign fails is lack of budget. That's the biggest thing. Not lack of creative, not going into the wrong area. It's the customer not spending enough money. So the first thing is a test must be done with the right budget. And what I normally say to people is start that literally split 50-50, 50% on print, 50% on digital. And what I've noticed now, I'm very clever because I'm always playing for the digital camp. So I make my stats look unbelievable. But if it's a multi-channel campaign, I'm running the print as well. I make that look great as well, because it's easy to monitor print success. If you have Google AdWords or any tracking platform in your customer's business or in your business, which you should have, whenever I do a print campaign, I notice the conversions on the brand, people searching and converting through the brand, increase by about 20 to 25% over a quarter. As soon as I stop that print, people name searches or brand searches decrease. So we see a direct benefit of people searching for the company and converting and buying more of their products when we're running print. Why would you not do that? Why would you not? You want people to know and like and hear of you. My good friend taught me an amazing lesson one day. He said, "Can you make a better hamburger than McDonald's?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, why aren't you bigger than McDonald's?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "Well, they're more well known." "Can you make a better coffee than Starbucks?" "Yes, but you're not that bigger than Starbucks. They're more well known." Our job as business owners, as businesses, and why the reason we work through print is for brand awareness, to become well known. If you want to be the biggest or the best or sell the most, you need to be known. Being known is more important than anything else in business. People don't buy the best product. They buy the most well-known product. And the reason most new companies fail and startups fail is no one's heard of them. Your job is to constantly get your name out there, so when people see an online ad, they convert easier. "Oh, I've seen that everywhere. I've seen that on the tube. I've read about that in that magazine." The conversion cycle becomes quicker. The amount they spend becomes higher. But we're all talking about awareness, so that conversion is quicker. It's so much easier running a digital campaign for someone who runs offline advertising, because they convert easier, they spend more money, make me look better.
Absolutely. Great answer to that question. And I think it's really interesting that you've raised test and learn as well, because I think in the far off days of long ago, when I started my marketing career, we never did anything until you test and learn that. And I've just seen some fantastic research that came back from global research that looked at how people are benchmarking and which global brands always benchmark. And it's always the bigger brands like Coca-Cola and P&G, and they invest a lot of money in test and learn, because they know before they go out to market, they will test everything that they're doing. So I think it's a really important thing that it's something that we jump very quickly from concept right into delivery without really stress testing what might work. So I've had another interesting question come through. How do you inspire your team? Are you using a stick or a carrot to make those calls? I think that's, I'm not sure about the stick, but I understand what they're saying. It's like, actually, what's driving the motivation behind your team? So what's getting those guys up at bed? Because obviously, as a business owner, very different reasons for getting out of bed in the morning. What's getting those guys up and motivated? And obviously, you're a very positive person. I'm sure a pep talk from you probably gets most people up and running in the morning. But what motivates them, do you think, to get that level of commitment going?
Well, so Google and Facebook have reported in the last 2 quarters, Climb Online has activated more new accounts than any other digital marketing agency in the UK. So we have the highest new sales of activation of online accounts for Facebook in the UK and for Google. That's pretty good. There's 3,050 registered Google partners in the UK. So we're number 1 out of 3,000. It's pretty good. How do we do this? In times that are tough, I appear in front of the employees more than ever. So as soon as this thing hit, I normally have a town hall once a week. That increased to twice a week. At the start of the pandemic, it was every day. I would speak to the employees, do a bit of rallying up the troops every day, getting HR, going around speaking to people. We've not been immune. We've had staff suffering with mental health problems, people not enjoying working from home, people struggling, losing sight of their goals, but coming back to really basic things. I joke that I call this the People's Republic of Mark. I make the rules here. And when you walk in the room here, it's a safe environment, it's a productive environment, and we do not let our people get in the mindset of it's really terrible out here. So, it's really hard to sell out here. It's really hard to contact decision makers. Other agencies aren't selling. Other agencies, I've banned any talk about that. Negativity talk does not happen in my office, or you'll be finding somewhere else to work quite quickly. And I'm not going to say propaganda is the wrong word, but I've created an environment of extreme positivity and of a safe environment and of a productive environment where each person hits their individual goals. And when you hit your individual goals, it helps the company hit theirs. All of the staff, we've created a blended model where they work 1 or 2 days in the office and 1 or 2 or 3 days at home. So they're getting that mix, that movement if people stay in the same place for too long, they get stale. People need to move. We've created goals for each person individually, and we've put those up both in their home office at home and here. So you'll go out and you'll see one person's got a dog, another person's got a yacht, a Rolex, whatever's important to them, a 6-pack. And we're constantly driving people to get their own personal ambitions and keeping them motivated, but it's through constant communication. If you notice, for example, the royal family, whenever things get tough, the Queen appears more. Or they have the government daily briefings. Business is no different. When it gets tougher, you need to appear more as a manager, as a leader, even on the days when you really don't want to. And there's days I don't want to. I don't want to go out there. I feel like shit. We've had a bad month. We've lost 42% of our customers. That's the time you go out extra hard. You deliver 100% of the time to the people, and it's our job, no matter how hard it is, to get them through this.
Absolutely. So I think we're just coming up to about 10:30. I've got a feeling I'm going to get Graham and Lucy reappearing in festive mode. It's been really interesting to have this update from you, and I'm sure that the people listening today have been really inspired listening to that level of leadership and really what's been motivating, and also how to talk to their clients, because I think that's been, when I listen to feedback from the rest of the marketing community, it's been the barriers that are there, and it's also making sure that the money that hasn't been spent this year hasn't disappeared, that it's been part for some different things moving forward. Obviously, we talked a lot today about delivering ROI and how you start to really target some of that marketing spend, so you're really listening to your clients as well and understanding. But I really took out that particularly about test and learn. And also about that time effectiveness as well, about what we might be able to do. It's going to be really interesting, isn't it, to see that hybrid as we come back. But Mark, thank you. That was fantastic. And thank you also to our audience for some brilliant questions too.
Thank you so much for having me. And I wish everyone here all the best. And don't look at this opportunity like a negative. How you perform over the next 6 months, both as a business person, a leader, and a business owner, will determine the rest of your career. It's your job to go out, set high goals, work hard, and motivate your people. And I hope to see you in real life or in Zoom form in a year's time.